You guys need to sit down for this one because what I'm about to tell you is the real American horror story that Kim Kardashian does not want you to hear. Imagine being on top of the world with your ex-husband making a fool of himself, your businesses booming, and billionaires calling you for private dinners. Then suddenly, the one man who could have turned you into the most powerful Kardashian alive ends up betraying you in the worst way possible, handing your dream deal, your billion-dollar golden ticket, straight into the hands of your younger, fresher, and arguably more relevant rival, Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the betrayal Kim never saw coming. And if you thought her messy divorce from Kanye was bad, just wait until you hear how Jeff Bezos played her at her own game. Coming out of the Kanye years, Kim wanted to reinvent herself. The tabloids weren't talking about her relationships anymore. They were talking about her businesses. Skims was a runaway hit. She was rubbing shoulders with politicians, studying law, and building the image of a woman who had moved past the scandals that made her famous. But Kim didn't just want fame. She wanted legacy. She wanted power. That's where her private equity firm, SKKY Partners, came into play. This was supposed to be her move into the billionaire boys club. Forget reality TV. Forget perfume lines. Forget fast fashion collabs. This was serious money. And to make that leap, she cozied up to none other than Jeff Bezos. At first, it looked like a perfect match. Bezos, the richest man in the world, suddenly taking an interest in Kim's empire. Rumors swirled that Bezos and his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, were unusually close with Kim. Dinners, parties, whispered conversations. Kim believed she had found her golden ticket, a billionaire benefactor who would back her with the type of investment that would silence her critics forever. What she didn't realize was that Bezos wasn't about to play by the Kardashian rulebook. But hold on. Before the betrayal came the embarrassment. And it all went down in front of the world at a wedding. Let's rewind to Bezos' lavish wedding, an event packed with A-list stars, supermodels, and power players. Kim showed up ready to own the spotlight. This was her chance to shine, her moment to be seen on the arm of the world's richest man, or at the very least, to catch the eye of her longtime crush, Tom Brady. Except, it didn't go that way. Reports claim Kim tried to throw herself at Tom Brady, thinking that their private dinners and late-night conversations would finally translate into something public. But Tom wasn't interested. Not at the wedding. Not in front of everyone. To make matters worse, all eyes were on someone else. Sydney Sweeney. Sydney was glowing. Younger. Natural. Untouched in ways Kim no longer could be. Attendees whispered that she had everything Kim wanted: youth, relevance, and a career untouched by scandal. The humiliation deepened when news broke that Pete Davidson, Kim's ex, was expecting a child. For Kim, it felt like the universe was mocking her. But none of this compared to what was happening behind the scenes. Because while Kim was chasing Tom's attention, she was quietly losing the one thing she wanted most: Bezos' billion-dollar check. And this is where things take a sharp turn. For years, Kim perfected the Kardashian hustle. Use beauty and access to get what you want. Show vulnerability, then flip it into power. She believed the same playbook would work on Jeff Bezos. She spent months sharing insider details about her businesses, how Skims was run, what made it successful, and where she saw it going. She talked about building generational wealth, dropping hints in interviews that a massive investment was coming her way. The whispers were that Bezos was preparing to invest $1 billion into her private equity firm. Kim was ecstatic. This was her chance to finally be seen not just as Kanye's ex or a reality star, but as a financial titan in her own right. In her mind, it was already done. She would outshine her sisters. She would stand toe-to-toe with billionaires. She would build the kind of power that even Kanye could never touch. But Kim made one fatal miscalculation. She believed Bezos could be played like Kanye. What she didn't realize is that Bezos had his eyes on someone else entirely. Here's where the story takes a jaw-dropping turn. Instead of putting that billion-dollar investment into Kim's firm, Bezos reportedly redirected the money into backing Sydney Sweeney. Yes, the very same Sydney who had just overshadowed Kim at the wedding. The same Sydney who represented everything Kim no longer was: fresh, unfiltered, and rising. Bezos, a man who built Amazon by studying markets and crushing competitors, had essentially taken everything Kim handed him, her strategies, her insights, her Skims playbook, and given it to Sydney. The plan? Launch a lingerie and apparel line that could rival Skims, only this time with the backing of Amazon-level resources. For Kim, this wasn't just business, it was personal. She had been outplayed at her own hustle. And as humiliating as that was, the fallout back at home was even worse. Not long after the Bezos betrayal, people noticed something strange. Kim's role at Sky Partners, once front and center, was quietly downgraded. Instead of being the powerhouse face of the firm, she was shuffled off to a founder's page, an honorary title but one with no real influence. Translation: her billion-dollar empire in the making was dead in the water. The firm's big investments, nowhere to be found. The only notable project tied to Kim was a small play in a hot sauce company. The billion-dollar dream she bragged about? Gone. To make matters worse, industry insiders started pointing out what Kim already knew but hated to admit. Emma Greed, her partner at Skims, was the real brains behind the operation. The business acumen, the scaling, the strategy. It wasn't Kim. It was Emma. Kim was just the face. And for someone who had built her brand on being the puppet master, realizing she was the puppet was devastating. But the most painful lesson was yet to come. Here's the brutal truth. Kim had gotten used to men bending to her will. Kanye, for all his genius and ego, let her manipulate him in ways no one else would. He gave her power, resources, and credibility, all while defending her publicly. Bezos, on the other hand, was cut from a different cloth. Ruthless, strategic, unshakable. He didn't become one of the richest men alive by falling for the Kardashian hustle. Instead, he flipped the script using Kim's own strategies against her. The result? Kim lost everything she thought she was gaining: her billion-dollar backer, her private equity credibility, even her control over the Skims narrative. And to add insult to injury, her rival Sydney Sweeney walked away with the spoils. This was Kim's horror story. Not because she wasn't rich anymore, she's still a billionaire, but because the one thing she craved more than fame or money, power, was snatched away, and there was nothing her PR machine could do about it. Here's the brutal truth. Kim had gotten used to men bending to her will. Kanye, for all his genius and ego, let her manipulate him in ways no one else would. He gave her power, resources, and credibility, all while defending her publicly. Bezos, on the other hand, was cut from a different cloth. Ruthless, strategic, unshakable. He didn't become one of the richest men alive by falling for the Kardashian hustle. Instead, he flipped the script using Kim's own strategies against her. The result? Kim lost everything she thought she was gaining: her billion-dollar backer, her private equity credibility, even her control over the Skims narrative. And to add insult to injury, her rival Sydney Sweeney walked away with the spoils. This was Kim's horror story. Not because she wasn't rich anymore, she's still a billionaire, but because the one thing she craved more than fame or money, power, was snatched away, and there was nothing her PR machine could do about it. And here's the wild part. This isn't the only celebrity power couple hiding shocking truths. If you think Kim getting played by Bezos was ruthless, wait until you see what happened when Al Jeanna revealed the real faces of Meghan and Harry. The story behind the royal couple is darker and messier than you've been led to believe, and the way their image has been manipulated will leave you speechless. So don't miss it. Check out that video next, because once you see what Meghan and Harry have been hiding, you'll never look at them the same way again.